Gary, I'm sorry. It's gonna be okay, bro. Gary!
Told you. Wouldn't shoot him.
I got it. Smile for the camera.
The movie kicks off with a prisoner named Jimmy Cullen in jail looking at the photo of him and his brother named Gary. Today is his day of freedom after serving a significant amount of time in the prison, so collection officers collect him. The warden summons him, who talks about right and wrong and emphasizes him being a good citizen. Cullen doesn't appear to be moved by the warden's words. He can't wait to see himself out of the prison. He breaks into a run. Apparently, he goes up to the abandoned scrapyard for his vehicle. He finds some documents about a man named Prescott Ashton with his address. He retrieves his short revolver for the mission. On the other hand, a crooked FBI drug addict detective named Humphrey is negotiating deals with a dealer. Cullen's swift Mustang reaches Bakersfield, California, his first target. As soon as Cullen barged into the building, he headshot Prescott in front of the cameras. To launch the investigations, the corrupt detective Humphrey partnered with another investigator named Cicero. Cullen goes straight to Roy Groen, his trusted source, and coerces him into disclosing more names and addresses. Roy requested the bodyguard's assistance in combating Cullen because he didn't appreciate his attitude. However, the bodyguard decided to back off as he saw the tattoos of infamous ex-convicts on Cullen's hands. Roy has no choice but to distribute the material. Somewhere in the city, an assassin nicknamed the Killer receives a phone call from an unidentified caller contracting him to exterminate Cullen, as his details had already been provided on his cell phone. Upon retrieving the video, Cicero recognizes a familiar face and informs Humphrey about the heist that occurred 10 years earlier, as the shooter had previously operated a getaway car. During the bank heist, he was nicknamed Driver. His crew was attacked by Hovis Nixon, Prescott, Gerard, and Kenneth Tyson, who were shooting while pleading for cash. Cullen, fearing for Gary's life, divulged the location of the money. However, his crew, which included his brother, met a brutal end. Cullen vowed to kill them all, but he also sustained a bullet wound to the back of his head and was pronounced dead. Hardworking doctors miraculously saved him by inserting a metal plate in his skull to treat the bullet wound. Cicero thinks he's taking revenge for his brother, and as they're still investigating, Jimmy kicks the door into Kenneth Tyson's apartment. He first shoots the camera recording a girl, then headshots him before reaching his weapon. Suddenly, the killer intercepts Cullen, leading to a chaotic exchange of gunfire as everyone attempts to eliminate each other. Cullen was able to get away from the killer to see another day. The corrupt detective goes home, but his wife rants angrily about his absence when she needs him. Eventually she forced him to take their son to the weekend baseball games. While they were en route to the games, Humphrey got a call from Cicero saying that they had heard another shooting in the neighborhood. She demands his prompt arrival at the crime scene. Cicero informs Humphrey that the situation is actually a ruse, as the shooter helped remove the pedophile. Based on what has been discovered, there are many young girls' sex tapes in the room. She reveals that the witness claimed to have seen a second shooter who looked like a movie star. Later, the killer becomes obsessed with Cullen. He's the fastest he's ever seen and too brave. However, his girlfriend reassures him that he will succeed in taking him down, as he has in the past. The following day, Cicero sees Humphrey's hand is covered with scars and asks him what happened, but he avoids mentioning his injection wounds and instead mentions his tattoos, claiming he was once a Marine. She doesn't insist upon more details. Meanwhile, it comes to light that Gary's ex-girlfriend, now married to Humphrey, was the informant during the bank heist. When Cullen showed up at his former girlfriend's house, he asked about his unborn child from her. However, she strikes him first because she used to love him so deeply. Then she reveals to him that she had it aborted since he blocked her from visiting him in prison. She emotionally wishes him well because she has already begun a new family. But she begs him to kill them all. Later, the killer unexpectedly marries his love, and they throw a very bizarre honeymoon celebration that involves firing semi-automatic weapons. He is forced to make a vow to put their happiness ahead of gymnastics and assassin work. In search of Hovis Nixon, Cullen visits a strip club. He also recalls how he slit his brother's throat. Strictly speaking, guns aren't permitted in the bar. He grabbed a chisel from the ice bucket and met him in the bathrooms. Nixon first ordered security to stand outside and safeguard the door. Nixon was well prepared for him, having always kept a knife at his side. However, Cullen is too fast and skillful. He repeatedly stabbed him. Nixon begs Cullen to call his son and ask for forgiveness while he sobs on the ground. Calling his son, Cullen informs him about his father. Cicero calls Humphrey and tells him about the stabbing that took place at the club. Humphrey states that he needs to investigate the crime scene, considering that he's uncertain of the stabbing suspect. Cullen receives the news on the radio about the club stabbing victim, who is currently fighting for his life in the hospital. Cullen abruptly does a U-turn in the middle of the street and proceeds directly to the hospital. He is unaware that the hitman is also sent to the hospital. Cullen barbarously enters the operating room and shoots Nixon multiple times. Hearing the bullet sounds, Detective Humphrey rushes to catch up with him. Humphrey's erratic firing in the hallway causes damage to the lights. Cullen appeared to Detective Humphrey in the darkness, but when Cullen recognized him as a police officer, he spared him. Meanwhile, Nixon's son phones Cullen and threatens to exact revenge for his father. Cullen suddenly discovers a car following him and decides to race him on the highway. After overtaking multiple vehicles, Cullen flipped over his Mustang in front of the fast-moving trailer, aiming his handgun at the killer. He shoots the tires, but the hitman shoots him in the neck, and he barely makes it out alive. To find the elderly man who is rumored to have orchestrated the gang's ambush, Cullen goes to his family residence. When Cullen asks his whereabouts, his mother informs him that his father passed away 4 years ago. She tells him, as she sutures the wound from the bullet, that their father loved Gary too much to set them up. He was his most favorite son even after he refused to share the money with him. Now that we know how Cullen got behind the wheel on the day of the robbery, Gary's driver, for some reason, didn't show up. Because Gary needed a driver, Cullen had to assist him. Cullen takes Gary's charred ashes and assures his mother that he will give Gary a befitting burial after taking out everyone who was involved. Humphrey is being praised at the station because he came closer to apprehending the shooter at the hospital. Cicero discovered that every victim of the assassinations had been an FBI informant, leaving just Alexander Girard on the list. However, Humphrey guarantees her to stop the shooter. From robbery to a Christian minister, Jared's sermons are broadcast live on the radio station, educating people about drugs, teaching them how to forgive others, and helping them let go of past wrongs. Cullen arrived at Gerard's church, but he's unaware that the killer also followed him. Cullen's entrance into the church fulfills Gerard's deepest fear. Gerard's wife appears concerned about her husband as the stranger confronts him. Cullen takes Gerard for a walk by the river. While Gerard maintains his innocence, he emphasizes how he warned his friends not to slit Gary's throat. However, they disregarded his advice. After that incident, he separated from that group to compile his mistakes. Today he is a different and better man. Gerard reasons with Cullen that killing him won't bring Gary back. Additionally, he says that he has been the inspiration for his sermons for the past weeks. Gerard's words suddenly transform Cullen, compelling him to reconsider his plan to kill him by shooting in the air. When Cicero calls Humphrey to inquire about his location, he tells her that he is following some clues that point the shooter to Gerard's place. She advises him to hold off until she arrives with support, but now it's too late. After a long day, Cullen is relaxing in the chapel when the killer approaches him with the gun. When the killer believes that he is not being sufficiently challenged to kill him, he forces Cullen to grab his gun before asking about the last person because his list is still incomplete. Just then, Humphrey suddenly walked into the church. He shoots Cullen in the back of the head because he would rather not take any chances. We learn that Humphrey actually was the one who shot Cullen after the heist, and he's the same person who contacted the hitman to kill Cullen. Humphrey offers to pay, but the killer declines the money and instructs him never to contact him again since he has given up being an assassin to be with his family. Upon reading the confidential report, Cicero uncovers that Humphrey supervised all the informants who have been killed. It implies that Humphrey was the mastermind of the ambush that followed the robbery. Humphrey makes travel arrangements over the phone with his wife. Suddenly, Cullen shoots him out of the blue because the metal plate in his head prevented the bullet from penetrating his skull. When Cicero arrives at the crime scene, she decides to keep Humphrey's involvement in the robbery a secret since he was never assigned to this case by their supervisor. Cullen dumps his brother's cremated remains in the river. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.